Hello, everyone. This is Ryoga316, and this is my very first audio podcast as a reply to another podcast made by Guntank and friends at the Super Robot Wars Genesis forums. I'm supposed to have actually done this several days earlier, but I've been so tied up with a lot of stuff going on in the real world, so I apologize for making this podcast so late. And I'm saying it so literally because I'm recording this podcast at around 2 in the morning where I live. So here's what I think regarding the recent announcement of Super Robot Wars Operation Extend for the Japanese PSP. Now, to start off, even though it's in the PSP, it's not in a physical game format. As most of you already know by now, the game is available only through the Japanese PlayStation Network. Now, that's going to be quite upsetting for a number of gamers who actually preferred the game to be available in physical format, or those like me who do not live in Japan, who actually want the game but need to have a Japanese PlayStation Network account. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that the reason why BB Games would like to do this kind of stuff is because there's this trend that a lot of people are pretty much getting virtually whatever they want, be it games or apps, by just getting it online, especially when it pertains to the Android smartphone tablet market and the similar kind. So BB Games wants to capitalize on this by providing a Super Robot Wars game that is available through downloadable content through the PlayStation Network. Now, us gamers in the United States and Europe have a somewhat similar experience with the recent SimCity game, in which you need to be always online if you want to play it, even in the single player campaign, which pretty much is a turnoff to some players there. Now, the game will be divided into several parts, with each part consisting of 20 stages. The first part will be available through the PlayStation Network for 550 yen, and the succeeding parts will be available for 1,000 yen. Now, the entire game, if we want to get it as a whole package, will cost about nearly 7,000 yen. But chances are it's going to be available once all the chapters were released individually. Now, will this become the standard for future Super Robot Wars games? I do hope that personally the next original generations or the next major Super Robot Wars game like Z3 would actually be available as a physical game format, like a Blu-ray for PS3 or probably PS4, whatever. But I have the funny feeling that much like the case of SimCity, that it will become standard one way or another, mainly because of the current trend where a lot of people prefer just downloading the stuff, putting it in their device, and just play it on the go. So it's upsetting, it's disturbing, but we may be going in that direction one way or another. As for the newcomers coming into Operation Extend, here's my thoughts on each one. Starting off with Pet Labor. I've only seen just partial episodes of it as a kid, the TV series to be specific, and I pretty much enjoyed Pet Labor. I am slightly concerned on how the performance of Pet Labor in the TV series would translate to the game, especially considering the fact that Pet Labors are pretty much not like the units in Bottoms. Then again, I am reminded that they had Iron Leaguer in Super Robot Wars Neo for the was it for the GC or the Xbox? I don't remember exactly. And that's actually a sports anime. So to get those involved in a big battle to join alongside Mazinger Z and the Gundams, I guess I could say that Pet Labor might be able to balance that in terms of its performance and its weaponry. And it's going to be interesting how it can go toe to toe with some of the baddies of each of the other series. Um, as for Zoids, unfortunately, I'm not really a fan of Zoids. I am a fan of the toys, but not really a fan of the anime. As a kid, I actually like the Zoids when they were just big dinosaurs just bashing the heck out of each other. And when Chaotic Century came out, I was like dumbed down when one of the major, or rather the major units featured in Chaotic Century was the Shield Liger instead of the dinosaurs that the toys were producing long before the anime came out. So I'm not really that fond of Zoids, to be exact. Next one is Keroro Gunso, which I prefer calling it under its English name, Sergeant Frog. It's going to be really, really interesting what kind of mech the cast of Sergeant Frog would be using in the game and how they would interact with the other series. And I believe this is going to be the first comedy anime or comedy mecha anime to appear in a Super Robot Wars game since Full Metal Panic. Glad to see Shin Mazinger and Shin Getter back. Sadly, there's still no Final Dynamics special coming off from them, but at least we have the Elderon guys coming back, and so it's nice to see Raijino, Gosara, and Ganbaro Girls alongside Teo back. Who else? Well, for Team Gundam, I'm surprised that we have Amuro, Camille, and Judo in the fray, joining alongside the Kira, Hero, and Setsuna. Also surprised that although Gundam 00 is going to be here, so I can expect seeing the 00 Riser in action, but surprisingly, Char's counterattack is not mentioned in the roster list. So would that mean that Amuro will be ending up just piloting the RX-78, or probably be given a DJ as his main unit? Now, I've been told that the current listing is incomplete and that there would be other series to come in the coming months. So there might be a good chance that Amuro might be piloting the new Gundam after all. Glad to see Go Shogun's back. It's been a long time since I've actually seen that series. I believe the last time I've played Go Shogun is in Super Robot Wars 4S, if not F Final. Correct me on that one. But I do hope they've actually improved its accuracy. That was the issue I had the last time I played with Go Shogun. Elgame and Dunbine are also among the roster, so it's gonna be interesting how the units will handle both the Magna Beam Coating and the Aura Barriers these two series happen to be notorious for. The fact that we have Bottoms and Leisner in there pretty much hints out that the majority of the game will focus heavily on improving your team's accuracy and evasion if you want to hit these smaller units. And those are my thoughts for Operation Extend. Now, before I go, I'd like to address those who've been wondering if I'm going to do the 4th episode of my Kunio-kun series. As of the moment, I'm actually putting the series entirely on hold, mainly because there's a lot been going on in the real world, and I pretty much got my hands tied onto that. In addition, my PC is pretty much showing its age, so I don't think it can handle all of that processing power when I'm doing those Flash videos. Hopefully, when things are starting to get a little better in my side of the world, and preferably if I can get my hands on a better computer, then I'll probably start doing episode 4. I do want to get back to it. I am still passionate on doing the Kunio-kun series, and I do hope that eventually, probably in a few months, I'll be able to start doing episode 4 and probably go all the way up to the Sabu arc. And that's pretty much my audio podcast rather. Thanks for listening, guys, and when I have the time again, I'll do another podcast. Take care.